Hello, my name's Bev and I'm the author of the book Please Eat, A Mother's Struggle to Free Her Teenage Son from Anorexia, which describes our family's battle with the deadly eating disorder, anorexia nervosa, which my teenage son Ben developed back in 2009 when he was just 15 years old. This is number 5 in a series of blog posts that I wrote at the end of 2011, just before Christmas. And the reason I wrote these posts is because Christmas can be a terrible time for a family dealing with an eating disorder, and I wanted to show the kinds of things we went through, and the whole purpose of the blog is to show that we too went through all these nightmares, but that we also came through it, to show other families that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and to show how we eventually got there. And by the end of 2011, my son Ben was on the road to recovery. We were nowhere near full recovery at that particular time, but he had definitely turned a corner. So this particular blog post is called On the 5th Day of an Eating Disorder Christmas. The eating disorder gave to me 5 safe recipes. I have a kitchen cupboard jam-packed with recipe books and 4 more drawers packed with good food and delicious magazines, with 2 drawers reserved for the Christmas and New Year issues from the past 10 years. This year we've been doing what we'd usually do. That is, plough through all of the festive recipes, shortlisting the most yummy for our own build-up to the big day. On Sunday morning, for instance, Ben surprised me with a da-da moment as he revealed the chocolate log cake he'd made the day before. That afternoon he made mince pies and various sweet and savoury Christmas biscuits. I'll be making a 3rd stuffing for our turkey, with a Spanish twist, chorizo. But it wasn't like that in the build-up to Christmas 2009. Back then, working out our weekly menus was a nightmare, let alone working out what we would eat for the festive season. I'd flick through all my recipes, discounting the vast majority because I knew that A, Ben would refuse to eat them, and B, he'd throw wobbly at the very prospect of them appearing on the weekly menu. Anything with cheese was out. Fats, of course, were eliminated, and anything that needed to be fried. Curiously, nuts and potatoes were okay, but I couldn't mix potatoes with, say, bread, because that would mean too many carbohydrates. I remember a veggie burger and oven-baked potato wedges I served up, which ended up being slammed down on the table in a furious eating disorder rage because of the mix of potatoes, bread and breadcrumbs in the burger on one plate. Puddings and cakes were out, unless they were fat-free, and umpteen other things that thankfully have slipped my mind 2 years on. Virtually all festive food was out, except lean turkey meat, and why the heck do we need to use oil to roast potatoes when Ben reckoned it could be done more healthily without? He would police the kitchen to check there was no contraband in the fridge, freezer or larder. Everything had to be 0 fat, and if an extra light version existed, then we had to buy that. Our local supermarket's extra light mayonnaise was particularly bland. He'd throw an eating disorder fit if he caught me frying anything on the stove. Even frying an onion in a tablespoon of oil was a criminal offence. Why fry when you can dry fry? The slightest globules of oil would be described as swimming in fat, and violent refusals to eat the evening meal. Or he'd stress out all day at the prospect of a fear food being slipped into our dinner. I remember a serious problem with my plans for smoked mackerel burgers. Had I seen how much fat was in mackerel? I'd tried to remove nutritional labels from food packaging, but by then Ben knew calories off by heart. And anyway, removing labels set the alarm bells ringing in his head, and I wouldn't have removed the labels if they were okay, would I? I tried to black out the nutritional content of recipes, but that also set off the alarm bells, and of course he knew the calories by heart anyway. And in a house as small as ours, it's virtually impossible to lock him out of the kitchen. Before the eating disorder, cooking was one of my big passions, especially cooking in the run-up to Christmas. At the height of the eating disorder, I came to hate and even fear cooking, choosing a handful of 5 or so safe, bland recipes in an attempt to keep the peace. Last year, in 2010, it was better. This year, it's virtually back to normal. Bring on Ben's delicious chocolate log cake. That's the end of that blog post, and you'll find a link to my blog below, and also a link to my website where you can download free PDFs of my blog. There's also a link to Amazon where you can buy my book if you'd like to.